Welcome to How Preschool Teachers Do It.
This is Alison Kentos. I am an early childhood educator.
And this is Cindy Tarabush. I am an early childhood consultant.
This podcast is for parents and early childhood professionals.
Let our experience and research-based knowledge become your guide. Happy Monday, preschool peeps.
Hi, peeps.
This, for a lot of people, may be the last Monday of the school year, if it hasn't been for you already. Happy Monday, you made it. And I'm just going to say to everybody who got to this point, we made it.
We did it.
Oh my goodness. This is like, what a year. It was
a long and challenging year, but we got through it.
What a year. I think as we go into future years, we really need to think about our practices. I've said before on this podcast, and Alison has too, we're at a pivotal moment. We are, and it's a gift, we're at a moment where we can decide where is early education going to go and who are we going to be in that process, right?
Yeah.
And we can make those decisions. So one of the things that we wanted to point out to give people food for thought, if you have a summer program, you can think about it then. If not, food for thought as you head towards September. And it really has to do with creating self-fulfilling prophecies for children.
Yeah.
A self-fulfilling prophecy, Alison, correct me if I don't define it well here. Self-fulfilling prophecy is basically, like what you think becomes what you do and who you are.
Yeah.
Right?
It gets like internalized.
Yeah.
Right? It becomes your core being if you keep hearing something over and over and over again. Or
Right.
you keep saying something to yourself. If you keep thinking it, it's going to happen.
It becomes basically your core beliefs about yourself.
Yeah.
And things come true. It's that whole, if you believe you can succeed at something and you believe that in the depths of your soul, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that you will reach goals and succeed, right? Unfortunately, some of the self-fulfilling prophecies that we set up in classrooms without even meaning to can be really damaging. We've talked in the past about the importance of our words, but we'd like to do it from this angle. The words that we use in front of children, about children, teach the children who they are and can become self-fulfilling prophecies. And I can give you an example. Not a positive example, but I have those too, which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
So here's an example, and it's one of the things that can inspire this sort of article or episode. I was talking with an adult who was with children. We're talking in front of children. One child was behaving as children do when they're asked to wait while adults talk to each other. Right?
It's boring.
Right? It's boring and they want their turn or whatever.
Yeah.
So the adult turned around and said to the child, "Don't be difficult." Well, now you've put difficult out in the world.
Right.
Don't be difficult. But the way someone internalizes that is the world thinks I'm difficult. Hasn't that happened to you as an adult where somebody has said something and you've thought, wait, what?
Well, because the kid doesn't realize or think that he's being difficult. He's just being a kid. But now
you've put this word on it.
Right. Thinks everything I do is now difficult and therefore I'm not liked. But as an adult, if somebody says I'm difficult, I'll be like, oh, you want difficult?
All right. But kids,
that's cute.
You know what these kids do? These kids, they just go, okay, difficult. I guess that's me.
Yeah.
And it just becomes who they are. But I'll tell you what, Alison, if you're sitting there saying you want to see difficult, what they've done is promote you to be more difficult.
Right. That's what I'm trying to say. Is
right.
That they've made it so that you're going to be like, oh, if that's what you want. Okay, cool. I can do that for you. Yeah.
We can up that ante.
We can make that happen. Yeah. That's what they're going to do there. And, because why wouldn't they? You just told them they're already difficult. So why even bother trying now? Because they were trying, before, but you said that was difficult. So here we are.
I also, not only that, but I think, there are ways that we have to look at things like, a lot of time children will be called challenging. It's not the child who's challenging. Their behavior is challenging you.
Yeah.
The correct or more useful, maybe not even correct, more useful phrasing is that you are challenged. You as the adult are challenged by the behavior of this child.
Yeah.
There's a difference between I'm challenged by this child's behavior and this child is challenging.
Right. But I always thought saying the child is and then fill in the blank, especially with negative things, you don't want that. You almost want to spin it to be like the child has challenging behavior sometimes. You know what I mean? Like not the child is challenging, because the child is not challenging all the time. Like they have challenging behaviors. And I think by saying it that way, it puts it more on you. Like that challenges me, instead of putting it on the kid. Like that's just who they are. They're challenging,
there's a lot of talk about, like with that phrase, the child is, a lot of talk about how we should not be putting all the positive spin on things that children can't control. Like even when we say things like, he's so cute, or he's so handsome, or she's so sweet, or these are things that are innately a part of a person that they're just like things that you're just born with should not be part of the comments. What we should be positively commenting on are the children's efforts, things they can control, like how much you are trying or attending to task or something that they're doing versus who they are. How about that?
Right. Or how they look.
Yeah.
I hear this all the time. Somebody come, you go into a room, you're like, hey, I'm looking for Johnny. Oh, he's the really handsome one over there. Okay, well, they're all handsome. So like, which one do you mean? You know what I mean? Like, why are you using that description for him? Like even just stuff like that, it starts filtering into all the other aspects of like, now I'm going to go, oh, Johnny, you're so cute. It's like, no, Johnny, you're really smart and you tried really hard.
You tried really hard.
You tried really hard.
Yeah. You succeeded. Johnny, you succeeded. Good for you. You finished that. You completed it. It's their efforts. There's a big difference between school and home in this way. It is a parent's, for lack of a better word, a parent's job to be bolstering their children, right? And of course, parents are going to say to their children things about how they look and how beautiful and handsome they are, and just how wonderful their laugh is, and their personality, and these things that they were born with. And there's different expertise that educators and parents bring to the table, and different responsibilities. They cross over, but in some ways they're different. And there are some things we actually can leave to families, and other things that as educators, I want to concentrate on. Like I want to concentrate on positive words that teach you that your efforts, no matter at what level, are valued, that you are capable, that you can do things. And when we use words about children like this is the difficult child, this is the challenging child, this is the out of control child, that's what they become. I had something, this is sort of related. I had something happen recently that I also want to caution people about. And it had happened to me. Someone said something to me about being confident in my knowledge, which I am. I'm confident in my education, my knowledge, my experience, right? I'm not going to deny that I'm confident. I am confident. And confidence, thank you. And confidence is something that's supposed to be a positive trait. But it was used with a almost negative connotation, this sort of negative attitude. Like they said something to me like, somebody with your confidence. And the way, the intonation of the voice, and in the crux of the sentence, which I don't remember, I don't want to quote it incorrectly. But I'm telling you, it was not a positive statement about this woman having confidence. We need to be really careful that even the positive words that we use that we're not saying it in such a way that it is interpreted as maybe not such a, they don't see this as such a good thing.
I don't see being confident as a bad thing, but
well, that is a whole
they were
patriarchy issue. That
it
is
sure
a feminism issue.
It sure is. How dare you be a confident woman?
Exactly. How dare you be a confident woman is basically that. Or confident women are, you know, whatever. But we want to be careful of that, because those hidden biases, those things that a lot of us were raised with, are still a part of our being. And so when we look at the children, we want to make sure not to impose society's biases about things like, you know, confidence and gender, or certain behaviors and gender. We have to make sure that our tone of voice even doesn't tell people that what we're saying to them, which may be a positive word, is actually a negative thing for you, little child. You know, it all becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The words that are used about us, the way that they are used, teach us about how people in the world see us. You don't know how people in the world see you until they basically tell you through their words and their actions. And we do take that and tend to internalize it, even as adults, when we really should know better, that other people's opinions are about them and not me, right? It's about their life experience. It's still hard to do. And young children will absolutely take that and internalize it. We learned from the theorist Erik Erikson, whose theories were big in the 1960s. Erikson basically said that you struggle with two opposites throughout your life. It changes by age. If you look up Erik Erikson, you'll see his stages of psychosocial development. That's what it's called. And the youngest children first struggle with trust versus mistrust. And if they experience more trust, they develop hope. The next stage is autonomy versus shame and doubt. Are you going to show me that my independence is of value, or are you going to make me feel shamed about it? And that's when they develop, if this turns out well, they develop the will to do and try new things, for example. After that is the stage about initiative versus guilt. And it's the silent messages children get about their independence, their initiative, their thinking, who they are, can they trust the world, that really can impact the basis of how they think of themselves and their personalities for years to come. And as I have said, and probably in the past, but say often when I'm doing trainings, and for all these reasons, therapists are making a fortune off my generation today.
Yes, they are. Because if you listen to all those steps, those stages that Cindy just mentioned, a lot of them have to do with effort. Initiative is, are you going to try new things and take the next step on your own? Autonomy, are you going to do things confidently on your own? They all talk about effort and trying and skills, not are you pretty or not pretty? You know what I mean? Not challenging or unchallenging. It's just, here's your task at this age, and what the adults do with that is what you're going to become. You know, infants, trust versus mistrust is, are you going to come when I cry so I can trust adults? If you don't, if you're neglected, you're going to not have a trust in adults, you know?
Yeah,
so
and
how adults interact with you is how you grow up to be and get through these stages.
The children absolutely become what we say to them.
Yeah.
It does not help to label them. And I just hear it still all the time, even though I feel like we know this. Well, can't we just reframe it in our own heads? Can't we in our own heads say, you know, that child isn't challenging. That child something must be challenging that child. Something must be frustrating that child, angering that child, getting in that child's way, because the children have such potential no matter who they are or what their story is.
And instead of just throwing it up of like, oh, he's just challenging, why don't you as an adult be like, something is challenging them, let me help them through it, instead of being, They just have challenging behavior. They're just challenging.
Haven't-
and just be done. You know,
Haven't you
help
heard
them.
people though? Haven't you heard, like, I've heard so many people say things like, oh, he's a piece of work, or
Yep.
she's a rough one, or that one's a little rough around the edges, or
Yeah.
this is what they're going to do if this is what we think. Because
Right.
the minute you think it to yourself, it just becomes all your actions and words.
Yeah. I hear a lot, well, boys will be boys and they're expected to do that. I'm like, no. Like, and now he's a boy and he hears that he's supposed to act like that.
He's expected to behave a certain way.
Right.
Like, how damaging is
And-
that?
Yeah.
I think that we should spend this summer right before a school year that may look more like prior school years than this past school year you did.
Yeah.
A summer right before a school year where people are going to expect everyone to hit the ground running. Let's really think about this, because these children will have experienced enough already. So let's go in.
Yeah.
Let's go in remembering that even the words I use in my own head about these children becomes who they are, because my actions are based on that.
Yeah.
And let's flip that script and remember that my attitude as the adult becomes the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And they internalize it. And then it's going to impact them for so many years. And they don't deserve that. They are so young for that. They've got so many years ahead of them to have to absorb what the people think and say in the world, right? So they don't have to absorb that sort of thing from us. So I hope as we hit the, new start button, that we start to think about those things.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like I've said my piece after having seen some conversations lately. In front of children.
In front of children. Yes.
Please, no.
No.
Please. And not even to anybody, but especially not in front of the children.
Not in front of the children. But I even feel like sometimes when it's not in front of the child, it's still, the child still is affected by it. Because like if you have this attitude, this opinion that this child is a difficult
it's in your
child,
head.
even if it's in your head, you're going to treat that child differently. And if you think that child can't tell the difference how you treat him versus how you treat this one, you're wrong. They can tell. So it would affect it. Even if you're not saying to the child, hey, you're difficult, stop being difficult. It's still in your head. So your attitude towards them is different than others.
Yeah,
and that's
your behavior changes. Your behavior changes. Actually, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy for both you and the child that this is going to be rough. I guess that's the bottom line. I guess the bottom line is you're creating the self-fulfilling prophecy for you and the child and the class and the future. So let's not do that.
There you go.
All right. I think that's a good place to wrap it up. We still are getting subscribers on the YouTube channel, which is awesome.
That's exciting.
We do have a discussion. If you go to our YouTube channel's homepage, there is a discussion forum in there that you're welcome to go into. And please, if you find this podcast to be valuable, tell your friends, neighbors, and coworkers.
Yeah.
And you can like our Facebook page it's How Preschool Teachers Do It on Facebook, and check out our website, howpreschoolteachersdoit.com. We have resources on there, by the way. I think there's a link having to do with Erickson. If you're interested in learning more about Erickson, there's a link having to do with Erickson on the listener resources page of our website. Please go to those resources.
Yeah, really
you never know what we're going to put in there, but there's some cool stuff in there, I think, and cool links.
Yeah.
And we will catch you next time on the podcast, folks.
Bye, peeps.